gonna die. Go too fast. I'm taking 3.
I'm going for the St. Louis now.
Oh no!
Son of a bitch.
You get your 2?
Yeah.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thotgor here, of course, and today we are going to take a look at a battle in the Tirpitz. You can see we're on Estuary, and we're grouped up with Dorrej today. Now, I don't know how many of you out there are Tragically Hip fans. I hope a lot of you are, but today, August 20th, is the last concert that the Tragically Hip is going to be putting on, at least that they've announced anyway, since obviously the major announcement that they made. But anyway, City of Fredericton is going to be putting on a little shindig downtown to celebrate that, and obviously airing the concert as well. So anyone who is a Tragically Hip fan, if you have the means of actually, going out and partaking in one of those events, I would highly suggest you do it. It is going to be a very good time indeed. As well, any of you who are lucky enough to attend the concert, I'm incredibly jealous. I tried very hard, but there was no way, no way I could get tickets. Wasn't going to happen. But anyway, that's what I'm going to be doing later this evening. I'm just trying to, get everything out today, get everything done before that starts. And I believe the concert starts around 9:30 Eastern for anyone who is interested in tuning in. Anyway. In the Tirpitz and on Estuary. Now, as well, I guess before we get too far into it, there are some jiggity janks in the video here. Again, it's nothing to do with my computer here. It's simply, well, I guess it does have something to do with the computer, but it's XSplit. Every time XSplit updates, something with my computer and XSplit doesn't work, and it creates some jiggity janks, and basically I have to wait a few days for XSplit to release the hotfix. Once the hotfix comes out, everything is fine. So this just happens to be one of those cycles. Just going to throw that out there before you all start freaking out. Anyway, we are with Dorrej. Now, when you spawn in a division on Estuary here, you typically do start over here on the eastern side of the map. So this is where we're going to head off, over here on the east. Now, on the Tirpitz, if you recall, I was very close to getting the 5th Commander ability, and I have since gotten the 5th Commander ability, and obviously I went with the manual fire control for my secondary batteries. So I've got that going on in this battle here as well. Now, in the excitement to start the battle, I did forget to actually mount the close quarters expert flag, so I forgot to have that put that on the ship, but whatever. My whole plan for this battle was essentially to be incredibly aggressive, get right in there and test out the manual fire control for the secondary battery, see how much of a difference it makes, and it is fairly noticeable. It's pretty great, and I can't wait to get this Tirpitz captain trained over onto the Bismarck and above, right, because that's when we're going to have some pretty significant secondary batteries on our German battleships, which, by the way, I'm on the conning right now, the tier 5 German battleship, and I'm enjoying the conning. It's a nice change from the Kaiser and the Nassau. I didn't really enjoy either one of those, but the conning is good. I can start getting a better feel for the German battleships and what they're about, and I've been enjoying it so far. Anyway, got a nice little hit on the enemy North Carolina there, off in the distance, which isn't too bad at all. Bring them down to about half health. Well, my Citadel, and you can't forget as well, Dorrej is in the background, right? So obviously one of his salvos went in there, and together we were able to bring the player down to about half health, which isn't too bad at all. We do see the Allied Atlanta I have there in front of me. He's gone now. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what that player was thinking. We knew there were destroyers going into this zone here, right? So fairly controversial for just pushing forward like that. Not going to say that I haven't done it, though. Definitely I have been in that situation before. Anyway, unfortunate, but we still have quite a force over here at A. Now, we're getting ourselves into a bit of a hairy situation, right? We do still have the southern point that we capped, but we're missing any other point. Now, obviously, we should be able to take this eastern point here as well, but the Allied players I have remaining on the west, these players are going to be players that are actually going to be hopefully playing a defense, right? Protecting our southern point, because we need to protect the southern point until we cap this eastern point, and then once we have the eastern point captured, we can then figure out where do we want to go from there, right? Do we need to take a third point, or should we then fall back and help out the defense? But we can't make those determinations or even think about that yet until we have have this A cap zone. So we know that there are at least 2 destroyers in the smoke here. If we count those torpedoes, it's 12 torpedoes. We know that there's at least 2 in the smoke somewhere. We saw one of them briefly, and I'm going to try and close the distance on these players here. Hopefully get my secondary batteries in play here as well. But I didn't necessarily want to go too far in as well, because we are really close to the cap. It would make sense for me to actually get in here and cap. And on top of that, on the port side, we do see a landmass coming up, so I can use this landmass as shelter if need be from any potential torpedoes. So we do get our first kill here. We managed to take down one of the enemy destroyers. We see the second enemy destroyer pop up there briefly. I'm not interested in chasing down the player whatsoever. If you notice, there are a number of allies with Dorrej and myself over here on the eastern side of the map, and those players can handle the destroyer. Dorrej and myself are actually, at this point in time, trying to figure out where are we going to be going next, right? Do we want to continue our push here and take the northern point from the enemy? Or do we want to head to the south and play defense, right? We don't have to make the decision too quickly because we do have time, right? There is the option of maneuverability here on Estuary. Because of the islands, in the little channels that are created here by the map, you have the option of actually getting in closer to the center of the map, which opens up the opportunity for you to really get to one side of the map or the other quicker. Man, struggled with that one. So if we were in the middle, we'd have the option of quickly going to the north or quickly going to the south, depending on where we are needed the most. So that's essentially where we are where we're sailing to now. Obviously, I want to avoid these torpedoes as well, but we do take some pot shots off at the enemy North Carolina here off in the distance as well as the player starts popping up. So, taking a look at the minimap, we can see that the allies we had playing the defense at sea, basically, so far have done a pretty good job. The job was to keep the enemies out of the cap zone, and the enemies aren't capping it, so fantastic. The problem is, the enemies are showing up in force, right? A lot of them just popped up on the minimap. We can see that majority of them are headed straight into that sea cap zone, so basically, the choice has been made. We need to go into the sea cap zone. We need to play the defense here. It would be interesting to go and take that northern point, but one thing that we weren't aware of, or at least I wasn't aware of until later on in the battle, there's actually a Scharnhorst hiding behind one of these islands and just waiting to for us to do that exactly, right? We can see is that the Scharnhorst? No, that's the Atlanta. There's the Scharnhorst. That player is just sitting there, waiting for someone to come around the landmass to torp him, put a nice broadside in, most likely take the player down in one hit, or do a whole crap ton of damage all at once. So, not willing to play that game with the Scharnhorst. Instead, heading to the south, we need to start doing something about the capture of the sea cap zone, right? At the very least, we're going to try and maintain some sort of cap parity. We see some torpedoes coming in. Don't need to worry about them. They were fired from the Atlanta, ran out of range, no problem at all. We're trying, or at least I'm trying to put in some shots here onto the Atlanta, trying to get the player down as quickly as I possibly can, in hopes that I can take out the Atlanta before I actually get to the south, because that would be great. It would mean that the Atlanta wouldn't be able to swing down there and help out the south, because again, keep in mind, with the islands and the way they're positioned and the channels on Estuary, it is very, very easy to go from the north to the south of the map, right? You can actually sit in the middle there, as long as your team controls it and it's safe. You can sit in the middle and sort of, react to what the enemy is doing, whether that be playing a defense or noticing a weak flank of the enemies, right, and then going on the offense and pushing that flank to get the point. That would be the ideal situation. Continue to put shots into the enemy Atlanta, and we can see that we are quickly approaching the end of our little bit of cover here. Now, I know that there's enemy destroyers in the cap. You can see I'm already turning out because I have no intention of going around this corner and eating any potential torpedoes that the enemy destroyers have waiting for me. And there we can see there's the spread there, and those would have taken me out had I continued in a straight line. We see the enemy Nagato off in the distance. Nagato is on full health, so this is a bit of a concern. Hopefully Dorrej or myself can land some lucky shots here on the player and get this player down to low health as quickly as possible. We see an enemy destroyer moving in behind us, so this is a bit of a concern, but I am going to continue my turn towards the south and eventually get myself into this sea cap zone to at least contest it ultimately cap it as well. That's going to be the plan. So we have some allies who are maneuvering with us as well, specifically this allied destroyer, which is actually pretty good because it is going to distract some of the enemies for us. In the meantime, some of our allies also have continued to the north and are going to try and put some pressure on the northern point. So that's pretty decent as well. I mean, we do have a lot of enemy ships down here at the sea cap zone, but if we do look at, the direction that they're sailing on the minimap, most of those ships are actually heading towards the north now, which is pretty interesting. Anyway, lining up some shots here on the enemy Nagato. We can see the enemy Nagato is actually on about half health at this time. So that's interesting as well, because it opens up the opportunity for us to start thinking about, taking down some other enemy ships potentially. I haven't landed too many successful shots on the enemy Nagato as of yet, but whatever, right? We're doing some damage. I mean, there's a bit of decent damage there as well. But I am going to try and close the distance here. Again, want to bring in my secondary batteries. Want to test out this new captain ability a little. It's a little risky, but whatever. I wanted to test it out. I was willing to take the risk. Luckily for myself, the Nagato manages to turn and give me a nice broadside, so I do put a few shots into him. More importantly, too, is although you can see some allied torpedoes on the way for the enemy Nagato there, one manages to hit the Nagato and brings him down to really low health. So now we just have to turn, put one shot into him, and I'll be able to finish off the enemy Nagato. Still keeping an eye on the enemy Mahan in the background, right, because this destroyer could take me down very easily. There we go, enemy Nagato is gone, fantastic. We're up to 2 kills, which isn't too bad. So we're going to target the enemy Mahan here with my secondary battery, so once they get into range, hopefully they're going to open up very effectively. I'm almost into the sea cap zone now, so I can start contesting it a little. And you can see the enemies are kind of jammed up right now, right, in the little channels, which is really going to play to our advantage here very quickly. We see the enemy Atlanta off in the distance, so I'm going to try and put a few shots into the enemy Atlanta now. I know that the Mahan is still there, right? But the chances of my main batteries actually hitting that Mahan aren't so great. I figured I have more potential to do damage to the enemy Atlanta. If I can just get closer to the Mahan, I can let my secondaries do the work on that player, hopefully. Lots of shots coming in. Getting lucky here too that not too many of them are setting fires, which is fantastic. I'm still able to preserve a bit of my hit points. We can see a player here in the enemy in New Orleans, and the New Orleans is a mediocre cruiser at best, but to go ahead and then to decide that you're going to drive this New Orleans in reverse while facing down a couple of battleships. I don't know what was going through that player's mind, but whatever. Got myself another kill, so we're up to 3 now, so that's not too bad. I've got some torpedoes on the way for the Mahan. Mahan is obviously going to turn away. Those torpedoes are probably not going to hit. We did see, or rather we do also see my secondaries engaging the Mahan, which is pretty fantastic. I was pretty pleased with what was going on here with the Mahan. The Mahan is, trying to run away. I've got torpedoes and a lot of shots coming in from my allies here as well. The Mahan is going to go down at any moment. It's just a matter really of who's going to get the kill here, and for myself, what is going to kill it? My main batteries or my secondaries? There we go, secondaries got it. Get myself a close quarters expert. Fantastic. Enemy Tirpitz pops up. Now I didn't want to turn with the Tirpitz, right, and present too much of a broadside. Now obviously I have to turn. There is a landmass coming up. But if I can get behind this landmass, maybe use it as a bit of shelter, that would be ideal. If you notice on the minimap as well, we can see that Dorrej is well positioned as well to start putting in shots on this enemy Tirpitz. So this player should be going down relatively quickly here. First salvo went into the Tirpitz, did a bit of damage, took out one of his main turrets, so that's not too bad. But keep in mind though, that was just module damage to the turrets. The turret itself is not knocked out, just simply, it's down for a few seconds, however long it takes to repair it. We are now capping the C zone, which is fantastic. My team as well is managing to pull this one out, so we have killed a number of enemy ships here in quite rapid succession, so this is not too bad at all, working out quite well for us. Enemy Tirpitz is almost gone. You can see a few more shots coming in here, so if we can just get or land a few more shots, we can finish the player off. Won't have to worry about this guy, finish capping the zone, and then we can start actually thinking about going to the north. So there we go, enemy Tirpitz is gone. Fantastic. Let's take a look around around, you know, sort of reassess what's going on before we make too many hasty decisions. So there are 2 enemy ships remaining, 1 enemy destroyer and 1 enemy battleship. So we know the enemy battleship most likely is going to be the Scharnhorst that was hiding behind the mountain. Now, unfortunately, I mean, that was a pretty good strategy and a pretty good call at the time to do, but unfortunately for the player, he or she never adjusted that strategy, right? And that Scharnhorst is actually basically in the same spot right now, so we're going to go say hello to the Scharnhorst. I wasn't too interested in trying to chase down an enemy destroyer. I figured that that would be too much of a risk here, so I am going to try and get the enemy Scharnhorst. The enemy destroyer, though, does actually pop up, which is quite lucky for us. So I do start engaging the enemy destroyer here, hoping to get some land some shots on the player and get the kill, because if you notice, I'm actually on 4 kills right now, so just 1 more and I can get myself a nice Kraken out of this as well, which wouldn't be too bad. Everyone likes getting themselves a Kraken. Actually, I was talking to one of the members of the clan the other day, or the day of this recording, mentioning how in a typical day, if I'm playing ships all day, you know, sometimes I do actually get more than 1 Kraken in a day, and I just wish that I could get more than 1 flag reward for the Kraken, because those Kraken flags are really awesome, but I only get 10 a day, which, you know, sometimes if I could get 20 or 30, that would be even better. In fact, by the, you know, when this game was over, this was the 2nd Kraken for the game, like I had mentioned earlier. Anyway, we caught a quick glimpse there of the Scharnhorst off in the distance, or rather, no, the Colorado off in the distance. Oh, yes, Scharnhorst is dead, so it's just Colorado. And we don't have anything to worry about with this Colorado. There we go, Citadel hit, Colorado is gone, there's my Kraken, fantastic. Not too shabby at all. Now, we know exactly where the enemy destroyer is, right? Obviously, the enemy destroyer is capping the western point A. We don't really need to chase the player down. If we look at the overall points, I mean, there's no chance that this player is going to actually win. We just took another cap zone. So if I can just rack up a few more extra points here before the battle ends by taking the northern point, that would be pretty fantastic. Pretty fantastic indeed. And this is, you know, another good point as well to sort of just mention. Always try and you know, take a step back and look at the whole picture, right? Your situational awareness, check in with it every now and then just to see what's going on. Now, it'd be very easy to play greedy and go in there and try and take the kill, but no interest in that whatsoever. And in fact, we can see my allies engaging the destroyer. Allies managed to finish them off, which is fantastic. And battle is over. Victory is ours, so excellent. Not a bad game in the old Tirpitz. Glad to get the 15-point commander, and even more happy to have German battleships to be able to use this captain in, which is always great. So I finished with about 116,000 damage, I think, over 2,000 base experience, which isn't too bad. Dorrej was a close second there as well, which is excellent. You can see how some of the damage broke down. The damage was spread out, not enough for the Confederate, but we still got the Kraken, so that's fine. 435,000 credits is what we end up walking away with, and with the bonus that's happening this weekend, about 9,700 experience as well, which is not too shabby at all. Anyway, that is today's video. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember to leave any comments you have for me in the video comment section below. I love reading those and responding back to them. Remember to hit the old like button if you did like today's video. Remember to hit subscribe if you were not a subscriber. And if you are taking part in any of the Tragically Hip events this evening, I do hope you enjoy yourself. I know I definitely will. As always, folks, I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day.